You're listening to Systemic Era Podcast. The failure was designed.
Regretful MAGA voters. Trump destroying jobs and looking out for himself, based on an article by Sarah K. Burris. The regret is real. The machinery is worse. Trump's coalition is meeting reality. A CBS report finds Trump voters angry that the administration is hurting families, jobs, and even detaining people who are not the criminals they were promised would be targeted. One Republican donor, John Gannon, says, "I see. We grabbed his fiancée, Yasmin Suarez Reyes, a legally present immigrant with a pending case and no criminal record." Other Trump voters interviewed complained about prices, corruption, and being left behind. That is the context. The political meaning is not confusion, it is exposure. The power was always federal. The people with actual power here are not the voters now lamenting the outcome. It is the Trump administration, ICE, and the White House machinery around Stephen Miller, who reportedly pushed a daily arrest quota of 3,000 people. That is not a misunderstanding at the edges of policy. That is an enforcement design. When a government builds a mass arrest system and then pretends it is only hunting the worst of the worst, it is not failing to communicate. It is lying to soften the optics of cruelty. The victims were never the point. Suarez Reyes entered legally, has a pending case, and lacks a criminal record. That matters because it strips away the fantasy that this apparatus is narrowly aimed at public safety. The story itself shows the real target: disposable people, broad discretion, and the satisfaction of numbers. You see, he did not get carried away. It acted as I see the acts. This is exactly why the agency should be abolished, not reformed, retrained, or publicly relations managed into decency. The structure is the problem. The mandate is the problem. The political incentive is the problem. The framing still protects power. The article gives space to regret, sticker shock, and betrayal, which are real. But that framing can also launder responsibility by turning deliberate policy into buyer's remorse. Trump campaigned on mass deportation and racialized punishment. Stephen Miller's quota logic only made that promise more explicit. The outcome is not an accident produced by bad execution. It is the execution. The softer misdirection is the familiar one. Blame the machine for overheating while pretending nobody designed the engine. Corruption is not a side story. The Trump voter in Ohio, who says the president is looking out for himself, is closer to the center of the problem than the usual polling language around discontent. This is not simply economic frustration. It is a recognition that modern authoritarian politics uses personal enrichment, state power, and grievance into one operation. That fusion is why voters can be harmed by the same leader they thought would protect them. The lesson is not that Trump failed to deliver. It is that he delivered exactly what his coalition empowered him to do. Pattern behind the regret. This story reveals a durable political pattern. Elites build coercive systems, market them as targeted, and then act surprised when the dragnet reaches beyond the intended scapegoats. The public is invited to see disorder where there is policy, and error where there is intent. That confusion is useful to the people running the system. What these voters are discovering is not just that Trump lied. It is that authoritarian governance does not stay neatly inside the lines drawn for its most loyal supporters. It expands, punishes, and then asks for gratitude. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to AlterNet for today's article with the automated voice of Libert. Thanks for listening.